may only get one shot at this, honestly. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Screen Tested. I'm your host Tyrant, and today we have another debunking episode, specifically another archery one. In the last episode, we obviously did a whole bunch of Robin Hood and Robin Hood adjacent kind of myths and trick shots, etc, etc. A whole bunch of cool shots, things like shooting a rope on an arrow, 6-arrow shot from like Men in Tights. It was just a whole bunch of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But today we're not specifically going to be doing Robin Hood trick shots per se. We're going to be just looking at generalized archery shots and myths, because there's a couple of ones that I think are good follow-ons from the previous episode and might provide a little bit of additional context and stuff like that. So let's get started with today's episode. It is all about the archery again. So in the previous episode, I used this particular bow here. This is a 50-pound bow, something good for hunting. It's very smooth on the draw, and it's what I use for accuracy, essentially. When I need something to be pinpoint, I'll use something like this. Now, I do have a high poundage bow, obviously my 80-pound bow, which is what I use usually for testing different things, or sometimes I will go up into the war poundage, 100 pounds and up, which I do fire quite frequently at obviously different types of armor to get, historically accurate results, etc, etc. So what I'm going to be doing in today's episode is kind of using a mix of different poundages of bows depending on the myth or the trick shot or whatever we want to call it that we are testing. So with that being said, let's get out there and start letting loose some arrows. First thing we need to do is actually string our bows, because that is a myth in and of itself. So first myth, stringing a bow. Yes, it seems rather pedestrian, right? However, there is a little bit more complexity here than some people might think. Now, obviously, there are lots of different types of bows, and the ones that we often see in movies, and specifically regarding to some of the other myths that we'll get into a little bit later, is something like this, right? This is what people think of as their stereotypical type bow. However, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll end up buying one of these sorts of things, or maybe like a costume one, and they'll put their string here, and then they'll put their string here. I'm not going to do it, but they'll put their string like this. This is not a strung bow. All of the energy that we need to actually impart into the string, actually give it that ability to shoot an arrow, means we actually need to bend these limbs the opposite way. So this is how the bow will comes like this. We need to bend these limbs completely the opposite way. So the way that we were going to do that, now this one here is rather light, and so it's really, really easy, obviously. When I get into like the war poundages, when I'm doing like, let's say 100 pounds and up, so I'm going to rest it on my legs. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's rested on my legs down there, and then I'm going to torque my body to bring the limb of the bow to the other side. So this one is only 50 pounds, rather easy and light. And then we have our bow is strung, and then we have the tension. It's under tension now. And we're going to bring it over and strung. Second one we're going to be doing. I mean, is there a confirmed or debunked for that one? I mean, there's not really. It's just showing you something. So what we're going to do next is Legolas's 3-arrow shot. Sometimes he does it with 2. I'm pretty sure in the Mines of Moria he does it with 2 arrows on the troll's head, and then I think it's for the elephant or the oliphant in the Pelennor Fields he does 3 arrows, if my memory serves. Now, the reason why I'm going to be doing this particular shot is because obviously in the last archery debunking episode, we did the 6-arrow shot from Robin Hood Men in Tights, the goated film. Now, a lot of people actually were curious, if firing multiple arrows can have some sort of validity. Now, the point in that particular episode was just to fire 6 arrows, not really to observe whether or not it's practical or not. So 3 arrows, like Legolas shoots, is a little bit different, because obviously they're sharing that the power of the force of the bow. But does that matter? So what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 arrows and we're going to shoot Tony over here. Now, what I've got on Tony here is a thick hide and then a gambeson. This is going to be my troll skin analogy, because this is a very thick hide, and then we obviously have that gambeson beneath. So let's see if we're able to actually penetrate with 2 or 3 arrows, and at what distance. I know Legolas is quite close. I mean, he shot the troll in the head, and he shot the elephant in the head as well. So he's pretty close, but we'll see what type of distance we can actually get with it. Now, the arrows that I'm going to be using are these particular gnarly boys here. Now, the reason why I'm using these is because in the last episode when I did 6 arrows, I was using target heads. Because like I said, it was just the concept whether or not we could fire that many arrows at all. This time, we're actually trying to go for penetration. So let's see what 3 arrows, well, first off, let's see how much force we can put into 2 arrows, and then 3, and we'll see if it's deadly. We'll start from perhaps this distance right here, and we'll see if we're able to get through. I can already tell you the answer is yes for this. This is, like I said, 80-pound bow. These are sharp arrows, and Tony is not too far away from me. So, yes, so 2 arrows. Now, interesting though, how much force was in those 2 arrows? Well, what I'll do very, very quickly, because they only went in maybe about 2.5 inches, I'll fire 1, just so you can see the penetration of just 1 by themselves first. Very, very different. Literally double or more the penetration. So we are losing about half the force between each arrow. Let's try 3 now. Now, I think you guys can clearly see just how much penetration we got. So each time we do it, we're getting less and less force between each arrow. So to be fair, Legolas was quite close to both targets. So let's see what it's like when I get even closer. Okay, we got 2, but for some reason that 3rd one bounced. This tip is a bit f***ed. Is the double shot possible? Absolutely. Is the triple shot possible? Absolutely. The thing is, would you want to do them over just a standard, like you see how much more depth and penetration we get just with the single arrow. So it is possible, right? It's just one of those things where you are losing force. You can tell you're losing force. So what is the point of it? But it is absolutely possible. And it is still lethal. So I feel like that's the important caveat here. Can you do it? Yes. Is it still deadly? Yes. There's not really any reason why you would want to fire so many arrows at once, but it is absolutely confirmed. Legolas, 2-arrow shot, 3-arrow shot, confirmed. Next, trick shot, sending a message on an arrow. So I have a message on the shaft of the arrow here, and then I have wrapped some twine or string or whatever around it. So let's see how far we can get this to go and see if it stays on there and arrives safely. I'm gonna be using the 80-pound bow because I wanna see how much distance we can get, and see if the message stays attached. Okay, I think I know vaguely where that went. Our arrow has survived and our message is still firmly attached. Okay, let's see what all the fuss was about. Look at that, still there, attached, perfectly fine. All right, what message have we got in here? From our king, from our lord, from our liege. What have we got here? Oh shit. Subscribe. Oh, I mean, that is good advice. If you haven't already, you should subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, I'd also appreciate that. There'll be links down below to the Patreon. Okay, but messages on an arrow, completely possible. And I even think that there are some use cases. This one, confirmed. Next trick shot, that is Legolas's reusable arrow. Essentially, he'll fire an arrow into an orc. He then pulls it out and then fires the exact same arrow at a target. Do I think this is possible? Yes, but it is fun, and let's see how easy or difficult it is. But I do think that this one is obviously possible. Let's give it a go. So I should mention that I've actually tried this before, so I'm just gonna show a clip of that. But I think for today's attempt, I'll try to make it a little bit harder with, let's say, a run up. All right, our orc is approaching. We fire our arrow upon him. Orc approaches. We fire on the orc. We grab our arrow back. We then miss. We miss. I missed that one. Fuck. Confirmed. Possible. Next trick shot, shooting 2 arrows at 2 separate targets. This isn't like firing 2 arrows like we've done before. This is trying to get 2 arrows to actually divert and hit 2 completely different targets. Now, what I'm going to be trying to do for this one, I think the best way to do it is I'm going to fire 1 arrow on the inside and 1 on the outside, essentially on 2 different sides of the bow, and we'll see how far the arrows actually move apart, and we'll see if we can hit obviously our archery target and Tony simultaneously, and obviously they are separate from one another. Let's give it a go. All right, I'm going to aim pretty much in the center of both of them, and we'll see if, okay, there was a little bit of distance, but they were still too close together. Good enough. So I thought I should mention that I did try it the exact same way as in the film, removing a little bit of fletching, but it didn't work at all, so I ended up just cutting all of it. The amount of money that I, again, like I feel like I'm more aiming that with my fingers than anything else. Confirmed or plausible? I mean, yes, you can technically hit 2 targets with 2 different arrows that are not really together, right? But they're incredibly close to one another. I don't know if there's a point to this one. It's also obviously sharing the force of that, the string again, so you're halving it. Yes, it's technically possible to shoot 2 different arrows at 2 different targets, but would you want to? No. So plausible. Technically possible, but stupid. Next trick shot, what we're going to be trying to do is obviously bounce that arrow up and into Tony from a piece of concrete. Now what I'm using is just like a standard garden paver. The reason why I chose this is because it's kind of in the middle, right? In the world, there's lots of different types of concrete, lots of different types of you know, polishing, slickness, etc., etc. This here has kind of what I would consider to be like a medium coarseness. It's not super slick and polished, but it's not like completely jagged and like you know, like old vintage cobblestones, right? So I think this is a good in between, a mix, a medium. So what I'm going to try and do first is I'm just going to use a standard target head before I try any other head, because if I break these, I don't care. But I don't want to move up to something a little bit more aggressive until we've tried it with this. So I've got it at, I would consider to be maybe like a 15-degree angle. Let's see if we can bounce an arrow. And I'm not aiming right at it like this. I'm kind of trying to get low with it to see if that'll make a difference. Okay, that actually worked pretty well. It didn't stick into Tony because this is a target head and that's Gambison. It's not really going to get through, but it did bloody work. I might actually try aiming normally and seeing if it still produces the same effect. Yes, kind of, but that is very interesting. So if you don't get your attack angle good, then your ricochet is going to be shit. Essentially, I came at that quite aggressive from the top, and essentially it went straight into the legs of Tony's stool and shattered the arrow. Whereas when I came at it with a little bit more aggressive, a little bit lower down, we got a full deflection straight up and at Tony. I might play with the angle a little bit, just get it a little bit higher, and we'll see if that makes a big difference. look, I'll try one more for you guys, but if I break this arrow, I think we're gonna stop there because I'm going through too many. I think that is as good as we're gonna get. There's a couple of interesting things here that we should mention. So first off, so imagine you've got your ground plane, right? And when it wants to deflect the arrow, essentially, it'll hit the paver or the piece of concrete or whatever, and it'll deflect up. The problem is, there's not actually enough room here for the arrow to get a full kind of arc on it, right? So what it ends up doing is hitting here and then smacking onto the ground. And that is essentially, I think what is breaking the arrow. But technically in its concept, absolutely possible. So I will give this one, it's a confirmed, but I think in terms of an actual, like let's say a combat viable move, it's more in the plausible realm. Could you ricochet an arrow off some things? Technically, but also again, a big huge factor is the head type on the arrow. I am not going to, first off, I'm not going to be breaking my broadheads because I need them, but I'm also not going to I wouldn't willingly shoot them straight into concrete because these are not round and cylindrical like the target heads, because the target heads kind of lend themselves to this particular test. Other types of heads that are far more aggressive, far more gnarly, far more sharp and pointy, yeah, this is really kind of a bad test for them. But technically speaking, it's kind of possible. So for the last and final myth to test in today's episode, we have the 12 axe shot from the ODYSSEY/Odysseus myth. Now this particular shot, first off, this took a long time to set up and it used a lot of resources. So I genuinely hope you guys enjoy. So let's talk about this shot. So we have got to shoot through 12 eyes of the axe, like you got to shoot through the eye of the axe. Now, what is the eye of the axe? Well, in a modern context, it's actually pretty simple what the eye of an axe is. It's actually the part which the haft goes through, the handle. When you're forging an axe, you're going to drift the eye, literally the eye, and that is the part that actually holds the handle. Now, in a bit more of a historical context, first off, there's so many different types of axes from all over the world and from different ages, right? So the eye of the axe can mean a couple of different things, but to me, my interpretation is, if you actually just look at some bronze axes, you're going to find some designs that actually have literal just holes in the axe head itself. There's literally just holes in them. So to me, that makes the most sense. You know, shooting through 12 of those eyes, literally through the axe heads themselves, makes sense to me. That's what I've done here. I've pretty much created Gimli's axe from Lord of the Rings because it has 2 holes in it. Now there is a piece of wood holding all of them basically centered because this ground is uneven. It's also really, really hard to get stuff into it. So actually lining up 12 axe heads to actually be able to shoot through them here is almost damn near impossible, and even this isn't really that good. So I may only get one shot at this, honestly. Let's see if we can get an arrow through 12 axe heads. Let's give it a go. Please don't miss. Oh, how many did we get through? That one was no good. Third shot. I think that was third shot. So first one of the axes, because it wasn't perfectly aligned, it basically smashed into it. Second shot, same sort of thing. Like I said, getting these all perfectly even, really, really difficult. Third shot though, I think we got it. So 12 axe shot, is it possible? Yeah. So long as, like, obviously the actual hole has enough diameter to accommodate the flex of the arrow as it moves through the air. Absolutely, of course. And they're not spread so far apart that you actually start to have to account for gravity. Barring those two things, kind of closer together like this, absolutely possible. Two for two. And no axes damaged. Our second debunking archery episode, whole bunch of fun. I really enjoy doing these episodes, and I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode as well. Pretty much everything was either plausible or confirmed in today's episode, which I don't think I entirely expected that. But it's a whole bunch of fun because it means all of this stuff is possible. So a whole bunch of Legolas shots, completely possible. A whole bunch of, even a Marvel one, I believe, for the skipping the arrow, completely possible. A bit of a mythical one. We have the 12-axe shot. Completely plausible, depending on the context, obviously. But again, a lot of these shots are possible. It's more just the skill required, and most of the time, it usually actually just comes down to why would you want to do any of these shots in the first place? Do they serve a purpose? Does it serve a purpose to shoot 2 arrows on the same string at one target? Not really, you're just wasting an arrow. So there's things there where it's like, yes, it's technically possible, but most of the time, sadly, with a lot of these cool things, there isn't really a point to it. Thank you guys for watching. I genuinely hope you enjoyed. Please consider supporting the channel if you like the content, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Like making all those axes and all that sort of stuff does require resources. I broke quite a few arrows on those pavers today, but that's going to be all. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I'll see you next week in another episode. Have a good one.